Hey guys, this is James, and today I'm back with another comparison video. I want to compare SCHD versus DGRO. These are two dividend paying ETFs, and I want to see how they compare. I want to take a look at each of their fund website pages, see what their investment objectives are, see how much overlap there is between these two ETFs, go over to Seeking Alpha and be able to look at their historical market price to be able to grab their annual growth rates. And what we'll do is then go over to Portfolio Visualizer and see what the history of these two funds have looked like compared side by side, and then come back over to my calculator, put all of the information in the yellow boxes, and then see what the future of these two different funds would look like over the course of the next 10 years, and then see what type of income you would be receiving, reinvested dividends, and if we did not reinvest dividends. Over on Schwab's website, this is their website page for SCHD. Their expense ratio is 0.06%. Their objective of this fund is to track as closely as possible before fees and expenses the total return of the Dow Jones U.S. Dividend 100 Index. The highlights of this fund: it's a straightforward low-cost fund offering potential tax efficiency. The fund can serve as part of the core or complement in a diversified portfolio. It tracks an index focused on the quality and sustainability of dividends, and it invests in stocks selected for fundamental strength relative to their peers based on financial ratios. There's a few things I wanted to show you on their profile. The fund inception date was October of 2011. So the fund has been active for 10 and a half years. And on their website, they claim that their trailing 12-month yield is 2.92%. So we'll use this figure. Over on iShares website, iShares DGRO page, it is their core dividend growth ETF. Their investment objective is to track the investment results of an index composed of U.S. equities with a history of consistently growing dividends. So very similar to SCHD. DGRO offers low-cost exposure to U.S. stocks focused on dividend growth. They access companies that have a history of sustained dividend growth and that are broadly diversified across industries. Use it at the core of your portfolio to seek income. A few things that I want to point out here, a few key facts. The fund's inception date was June of 2014, so it's coming up close to 8 years, 7 years, and 9 months. So we'll use that when calculating our CAGR numbers. Coming over to a fund overlap website, just comparing SCHD versus DGRO, there's 55 overlapping holdings, where 55% of SCHD's 105 holdings are in DGRO, and 13.2% of DGRO's 418 holdings are in SCHD. So the total weighted overlap percentage is 27%. Let's come over to Seeking Alpha and check out SCHD's page. In order to determine the most accurate CAGR number for SCHD and its 10.5-year history, we'll go ahead and click Advanced, click All, and it looks like the starting price for SCHD is about $25, with the current price sitting at $78.63. We'll do the same thing for DGRO. We'll click Advanced, click All, and it looks like the starting price for DGRO is $25 as well, and the current price it is sitting at is $53.46, but the fund has only been around for 8 years, whereas SCHD has been around for close to 10 years. So let's jump back over to the spreadsheet. I have a tab here to be able to calculate an accurate CAGR number. Just the yellows are the inputs and the greens are the outputs. So both funds appeared to have a starting value of $25. Here are the funds' time period that they have been invested in the market. So the ending value is already pulled from the data from Google Finance. So their cumulative annual growth rates come out to be 11.5% for SCHD and 10.3% for DGRO. So I just wanted to do a split screen here back on Seeking Alpha and compare SCHD versus DGRO, taking a look at their sector breakdowns and their top few holdings. And it appears that They are very similar in the weights and their top 5 sectors, where their top 5 sectors both being financials, technology, healthcare, industrials, and consumer defense. Over on SCHD, financials, industrials, technology, consumer defense, and healthcare. And their weightings seem to be very similar for their top 5 sectors, and very similar sectors as well. Coming down to their holdings, the top 5 holdings for SCHD are Coca-Cola, Verizon, Amgen, Merck, and Broadcom. And for DGRO, top 5 holdings are Johnson & Johnson, Apple, Microsoft, Procter & Gamble, and JP Morgan and Chase. I did want to show a snapshot of the dividend yield for SCHD. It's been pretty consistent around 2 to 3%, but then when the market crashed, the dividend yield started to increase slightly, but only artificially. And once the market price started to settle out, their dividend yield has been a pretty consistent, close to 2.8, 2.9%. So that's what we will use in our calculator. For DGRO, it's been very similar. It's a very consistent dividend up until the market crash, where the price dropped and artificially inflated the dividend yield. And the dividend yield has settled to around 2% for DGRO. Over on Portfolio Visualizer, I want to compare SCHD versus DGRO to be able to see what the history of these two funds would have looked like if you invested $10,000 starting at the inception date of the most recent fund, which is DGRO. I want to see what it looks like if you reinvested dividends and did not reinvest dividends. Taking a look at the graph, the funds track very similar, with investing $10,000 in June of 2014 to today. The funds are almost identical, SCHD being slightly ahead. With reinvesting dividends, the CAGR number for SCHD is 12.91, and the CAGR number for DGRO is 12.69. Let's take a look and see what it would look like if you wanted to pull your dividends out over the course of the past 8 years, starting in June 2014. It looks like pulling your dividends out, DGRO would have outperformed SCHD in this time period. The actual CAGR numbers would have been 9.57 for SCHD and 10.12 for DGRO. Coming down to what the incomes would have looked like over the past 8 years, you would have pulled out this much in 2014 after the first year, 138 for SCHD and 103 for DGRO. And the most recent full year, 588 for SCHD and 428 for DGRO. Coming back over to our calculator, column B, we have SCHD's value. We put in 2.85% for their dividend yield. We include the expense ratio in the calculator. It pays a quarterly dividend. The fund share price is today currently is sitting at $78.55, and every quarter you would get 50 cents per share for a total annual dividend of $2.24 at this dividend yield. For DGRO, the inputs are in yellow and the outputs are in green. 2.01% dividend yield for DGRO, 0.08% for the expense ratio. It pays a quarterly dividend. The fund share price is $53.43 currently. Every quarter, you would get 27 cents per share, or $1.07 every year. Coming down to our inputs to the graph for the growth and contribution, SCHD being on the left and DGRO being on the right, we used our CAGR numbers that we calculated from Seeking Alpha. We're going to see what it looks like with reinvesting dividends, starting with a $10,000 initial deposit at 30 years old. And this SCHD would outperform with the current CAGR numbers and the current dividend yields over the course of 10 years. And also over on the income graph, it looks like SCHD, of course, would produce more income because of their higher dividend yield. So let's say come back over here and we did not reinvest dividends with our $10,000. $10,000 would grow to $29,000 for SCHD and $26,000 for DGRO. And our dividends that we would be pulling out on an annual basis would be $285 in the first year for SCHD and $201 for DGRO, all the way up to these figures after 10 years. If you guys enjoyed that, head down into the comments and let me know. Let me know if you want to see other videos like this and which funds you want to see compared. And with that, thanks for watching.